All right, so we're here at part 3, and what I'm doing now is I went ahead and actually sprayed some wood glue mixed with water atop of everything to just really seal the tiles down. I used a spray bottle, and then what I did is I took a sort of fine sand and just kind of put a little bit down in the spaces, particularly in the bigger gaps, and then I laid a little bit on top, as you can kind of tell probably a little bit. It's going to give the board some more texture. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that water bottle back up with wood glue and water and spray it another coat down, and that's going to help seal all the sand down. You can probably hear a little bit of crackling right now, and that's because the wood was glued down initially just with wood glue, and then I took warm water with wood glue and sprayed it on the wood, and so it's kind of expanding right now, and so some of the tiles are popping a little bit, which is okay. They'll all settle back down and seal again. Okay, so I put another coat of glue and water atop of the tiles, and I decided to put some of the little items down right now to let them seal into some of the sand, because the next step is going to be priming this all black, and so some of the things that I put down I'm going to need to paint, and decided to do it right now. I don't have the rest of the charms or the items that are going to be going down on the board, which is why I'm not doing it all right now. We still have to wait for all that. But you can kind of get a look here at some of the items that we have down there. So we've got some battle axes and some skulls, and of course some lanterns. So anyways, we're going to let this dry, and then we're going to hit it with some black primer. Okay, so got most of the sand dry now, and got a heater out here to speed up the process just a little bit. I'm going to prime this thing black now, so time to bust out the spray paint, get painting. So there we have a whole can of spray paint, primed it. I'm gonna let this dry just for a little bit, and then I'm gonna turn it around, hit it with another can of black primer. All right, so the weight wasn't as bad as I expected. I got some of my skulls in the mail. I'm actually gonna be gluing them down right now to the board because I'm gonna need to hit them with a black primer because they'll need to be painted. So, and of course we don't want neon skulls on the board. Probably make them look a little more Lisa Frank than I really want with such a dark game. All right, so we've got all our skulls on there now, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit it with a primer, and afterwards we're gonna start painting this up. I'll probably start with airbrushing it to get the tiles done, and then maybe dry brushing them a bit, and then I'll go back over all these skulls and probably paint them some kind of white, and then wash them so that so their features and details come out. All right, so we've hit it with another layer of black primer, and you can see it's less Lisa Frank now and more death. And so what I'm going to be doing now is I'm actually going to start airbrushing this thing, and the intent here is I want to airbrush the tiles so they're going to stand out more. I'll probably have to dry brush them as well, so that the individual tiles need to really be able to stand out, so of course that you can see where you are on the board and it's not difficult to tell. I'm thinking I might actually make the middle sort of like a middle square in the board a lighter kind of tile color, maybe like a dark gray of some kind, and that will then allow me to paint this outline of the lantern. I'm either going to keep it sort of a black, or I'm thinking of doing maybe like a bronze of some kind, so it really stands out. And then after that's all painted up and the tiles are painted, I'm actually going to go back over and I'll hit it with a like a lighter glow, like a white, maybe yellowish color, so that it looks like the lantern's kind of glowing, sort of like it does on the actual board. And then again, that's sort of an indication of where the monsters, their starting point's going to be, so it'll be easily located. But then what I'll do after this thing all gets painted up is I have those various charms that I was telling you about. I'll show you what those look like. They're slowly coming in from China, so hopefully here in the next week or so I'll have most of them or all of them and be able to get ready to seal the board. So after those go on, I'm not going to do too much to them because they're mostly silver and like a bronze, like a patinaed bronze, and I like how they look as they're coming in. I might hit some of them with like a wash to make them look a little dirtier, but then I just plan on really placing them around the board, and then when I put that epoxy down, that resin, it'll fill it up and it will kind of embed them in there, so they look like they're sunken in the bottom of this sort of like swampy looking tile place. As of right now, things are mostly turning out as I've envisioned, but we'll see how the final product looks. My hope is that it's a cool Kingdom Death board. Alright, so we've hit this thing with some airbrush. I worked up from like a black to a dark gray, and then you can see there I did in the middle sort of it's like a dust color. But anyways, this is just to highlight some of the tiles, to give some depth to the board. I'm going to go back over, clean it up a bit, bring up some more of the details that are on the board, and then I'll be hitting it with a wash, which will again give it some more depth. So it doesn't look like too much right now, but there isn't really anything but the tiles on the board, so it kind of looks flat. Okay, so as you can see, we've painted up some of the skulls across the board. They are a nice skull white, and then I'm going to hit it with some different washes to give them a little more depth and detail, make them look a little better. Probably going to go over the lantern now, and I'm thinking I'm going to go with some of like a bronze color. Again, it'll be washed too, so that it looks a little dirty. But anyways, we're hitting up some of the details now, and I'm going to probably dry brush the side walls too. I put some sand on them to give them a little bit of a texture, so hopefully they'll kind of look sort of like a stone. But anyways, I'm liking how it's coming out. We'll start adding some details. Okay, so what I've done is I've done a little bit of dry brushing against the sides there, just to kind of pick up some of the details from the texture that I put on the sides. And then as you can see, I bronzed the lantern there. It's like a metallic type paint. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry just for a little bit, and then I'm going to start washing everything. So I'm going to hit it with and of course that's not with soap, but a black ink and probably a brown ink, just to give everything a little bit more detail. And then we'll see if I need to kind of do any touch-ups or dry brushing on the board. Again, it's going to look quite a bit different when I start laying down some of the other stuff on top. You're not going to be noticing the tiles quite as much. And then once I put the epoxy resin down as well, again, it's going to be kind of up a bit above these tiles, and it's going to be probably like an inked with like a light red tint to it. So the whole bottom here is intended to look like it has more depth and more detail than it does right now. So it may look a bit barren right now, but hopefully as we start layering things on top of it, it's gonna look better. All right, so we've painted the lantern, that bronze, and then I washed everything with like a black and then a sepia sort of like brown wash. You can kind of see that it's a bit puddled up still in a lot of areas, so that's just going to dry. It's going to soak into the wood and just kind of add sort of a cool colored stain to a lot of stuff. It definitely makes the skulls sort of pop out a bit more, giving them a bit more detail. So we're going to let this dry, and then the next step I'm going to airbrush one last time, largely focusing on the lantern. I want to make it sort of have a glow from the center. So of course these first 4 squares here in the center are the starting area, and I want them to pop a little bit more, so I'm going to hit them with like a sort of a yellow and kind of build up from there, give it a little bit of a glow. But there you go. Alright, so as you can see, we've painted our lantern in the middle with that bronze. We have washed the board with some brown and black ink, and I've gone ahead and highlighted with some airbrush the lantern there, kind of making it look like it is glowing. It seems to be coming together. I'm liking the way it looks. This is going to conclude part 3 of the Kingdom Death custom board build. In the next video, what I'll be doing is I'll be laying down a lot of the different sort of antiquities across the board, like some old shields, swords, some other neat things that I've picked up. And then I'm going to be filling this with an epoxy resin, giving it sort of like a swampy look to it. And then finally, either in the next video or maybe in one more video, I'm going to touch up the sides of the board as well as this area here where the cards go. And I'm not quite sure what I want to do here just yet. I didn't really want to leave it just as the plain wood, but I might put some kind of padding down or do some kind of plastic to make this just a little bit nicer. If you found this video interesting and you're curious to see how this board gets completed, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. And as always, I'll see you next time.